Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? Welcome to the final episode of season 4 of the Life's Playbook podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is season 4, episode 12. I made a mistake in the last episode calling that one the final episode. That is episode 11. This is the final episode of season 4. With that being said, the season is coming to an end. You know what else? You know what other season is also coming to an end? The NBA. What better way to finish off season 4, the season 4 finale, with giving the official preview to the NBA finals. So this is going to be the finals of the NBA season. This is going to be the final episode of season 4. See what I did there? We're going to be talking about the final season of the NBA while talking the final episode of season 4. As well as we're going to talk a little bit about the WNBA and, the Commissioner Cup mini in-season tournament, kind of just like the in-season tournament in the NBA. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the standings a little bit, as well as the regular season standings as of today in the WNBA. So, we're going to talk about all those things in today's episode. For those of you who are new to the show, I'm your host, Twin Jackson. I am, yet again, it is just me. I do have a co-host, but he is not present. He is, for those of you who do not know, he is in the military, and he was just recently moved to Hawaii, so we know the time frame gaps are very big time frame gaps between, Ohio and Hawaii, so it's kind of hard to manage to get him on and do episodes, but he's trying. So I got to give him credit. We gonna work some things out to see if to try to get him on here consistently. So he gonna be on here, but it's gonna be difficult. So some episodes it'll just be me. Some episodes we gonna try to get him on, but bear with me. It's not like he's purposefully missing, which he is not. So I understand all those things. We are trying to get it figured out. But I am your host, Quinn Jackson of the show. I do have a co-host, but he's not with me today. So it's just me. So y'all gonna hear not only who I think is gonna win the NBA Finals, but my overall thoughts on the both teams in general. So let's get into today's episode. Before we get started with today's episode, make sure to download Prize Picks, the most elite sports fantasy app. Yes, I am still in my work uniform, so kind of bear with me a little bit. I'm looking a little rough. Right now, but bear with me here, ladies and gentlemen. So we're gonna talk about the WNBA Commissioner Cup and as well as the overall standings in the WNBA. We're gonna talk about that first before we get to the men's basketball and give the preview for the NBA Finals. So let's talk about it. The WNBA Commissioner's Cup, another incentive to give money out to the WNBA players. I personally I like it. I've been tuned into it. I've been locked in. I've been saying all episode long, all season long that this is probably going to be the most locked in to the WNBA I've been in a while. I think the Commissioner's Cup has not been disappointing, but think of this as the WNBA's equivalent to the in-season tournament that the NBA had. Again, just another incentive to pay these phenomenal female athletes. I'm all for it, and I am all for it with my viewership. So we're going to go through the standings real quick of not only the Commissioner's Cup that is just kicked off, and we're going to go through the regular season standings to talk about some of the teams who right now are at the peak, the pinnacle. Some who are kind of showing some underwhelming status, and then the trash teams with the mid trash teams. So let's talk about the Commissioner's Cup standings. Most, if not every team, has already played one game in the Commissioner's Cup tournament. And we're going to go through the Eastern Conference as well as the Western Conference. So as of right now, starting in the Eastern Conference, the New York Liberty, this is their Commissioner Cup standings, not the regular season standing. The New York Liberty right now are 1-0 Commissioner's Cup tournament. Well deserved. They are not only dominating in the regular season, but they're dominating in this tournament. And I ain't gonna lie, hey, I might have him as a sleeper favorite to win this year's Commissioner Cup. But we gonna see. It is very difficult to win a Commissioner's Cup in a competitive setting like that. So we gonna see. But right now they're starting off good. They're 1-0. Number 2 is the Indiana Fever. Kind of not surprised by this one. They're competitive, despite when we gonna get to the regular season standing in a minute. But despite where they stand in the regular season, they're still competitive, just like the men's Indiana Pacers, and I will talk about them later on in the episode. But just like the men's Indiana Pacers team, the Indiana Fever, they are competitive no matter what the situation is. So I'm not surprised that they're also 1-0. They are behind the Liberty right now. So the Liberty are number 1 at 1-0. The Fever are number 2 at 1-0. The Washington Mystic are 0-1, and the Connecticut Sun, despite where they are in the regular season, where they stand in the regular season, they're also 0-1. But we'll see if they can bounce back. Obviously, there's no secret. We've all seen the butt whooping that the Liberty put on the Sun this last, I think it was either Sunday or Monday. Correct me if I'm wrong, Liberty fans, what day that was, but I think it was either Sunday or Monday that y'all kicked the absolute crap out of the Connecticut Sun. 100 to, what was it, 70 some? But it was a butt whooping. But they are 0-1. Atlanta has not played a game yet, and nor has Chicago. So they're both 0-0 right now. Atlanta is 5, and Chicago, the Sky, are 6. So that is the Eastern Conference standings in the Commissioner's Cup. Again, not the regular season standing. Moving on to the Western Conference Commissioner Cup standings. At number 1, the Minnesota Lynx. Just like the Liberty, they're not only dominating in the regular season, they are dominating in the Commissioner's Cup. So we could be seeing a Lynx Liberty Commissioner Cup Finals. We could not. Who knows? It's very, the in-season tournament and the Commissioner's Cup, the atmospheres are very different because there's actually an incentive at the end of all of this. So some teams are going to go out there and try. Some teams are just going to move along like it's just another day, but who knows, it's these little incentives that bring out the dog in certain players and certain teams, despite, despite it not being a major accolade yet. I think the Commissioner's Cup and the in-season tournament down the line could be a very important accolade to have on your record. But that's a talk for another day. We're getting off topic. But the Minnesota Lynx are 2-0 in the Commissioner's Cup as of right now. They are 2-0. They are number 1. Number 2 is the LA Aces. They are 1-0. Obviously, they are a full game behind the Lynx. They are 1-0. Seattle is 1-1. They are number 3, the Seattle Storm. And number 4, Phoenix Mercury. They are also 1-1. The I guess I should say reigning Commissioner Cup champion, the Phoenix Mercury. They won it in 2024. We'll see if they can hold on to the title or not. We'll see if that title gets passed on to either a team in the West or the East. But the Mercury are 1-1. Followed by the number 5, LA Sparks. They're 0-1. Dallas Wings. They're 0-1. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Dallas Wings in a minute when we get to the regular season standings. But and the Golden State Valkyrie are also 0-1. So those are your Western Conference Commissioner Cup standing. Again, this is, granted, it is a regular season award, or how should I say this, trophy, accolade. I'm not sure what to call it. But, you never know. With big cash prize incentives like that, It can bring out the dog in some teams. Some teams might want it more than others, and that's what you want to see. And not only the NBA and the WNBA, is especially in the WNBA. Something like this is really going to bring up the ratings and really going to push the game in the right direction. With that being said, we are moving on to the regular season standings now in the WNBA. We are moving on to the regular season standing. We're going to start all the way from the top to bottom. So the best to the worst. And I'm going to give my quick little opinion because I want to save enough time for talk about the men's finals. I'm going to blow through this somewhat quickly, somewhat not. But let's talk about it. At number 1, this is now the regular season standings. At number 1, it is the team that is also number 1 in the Western Conference in the Commissioner's Cup, the Minnesota Lynx, and number 2, right behind them, a game behind them, to be specific, the New York Liberty. The Lynx are 8-0, and the Liberty are 7-0. And what more do I have to say about those two teams? The Liberty, they are the reigning WNBA champions, and they are further proving that by being 7-0 and putting BTA to the Sun. Granted, I know it's the Sun, and they not that good. But hey, the Liberty, they're rolling. Hey, the Knicks got bounced, but the Liberty, they're rolling. They're rolling on all cylinders, and I'm excited to watch this team. I'm excited to keep up with what they're doing. I think they are further proving why they were the 2024 WNBA champions, as well as the Lynx. They're dominating on all cylinders. Just like the Timberwolves, the Lynx are also dominating. I think Minnesota and New York, y'all keep your heads high because the women's teams, they're eating. They are carrying the cities right now for both Minnesota and New York. So keep your heads high if you're a Knicks fan and a Timberwolves fan. The ladies are getting the job done, and they are currently dominating. The Lynx dominating the West and the Liberty dominating the East. They are permanently dominating the league standings in general. So keep your heads high if you're a fan of either the Knicks or the Timberwolves. You still have something to look forward to. Moving on to number 3, Atlanta, 5-2. Atlanta is 5-2. Not bad. Very solid team. Chugging along. I think number 3 is right where they need to be. They all right. They good. And they gonna continue to be good. Could we see a regress with them? With Atlanta, maybe. But Atlanta is number 3. Number 4, a whole game behind Atlanta at 4-2, the LA Aces. Again, another solid standing. I would say another solid WNBA team. Chugging along. We could see a regress with them. I don't know. They're only a game behind Atlanta, so a lot could change. And bear in mind, there's only been a total of 8 games played for a majority of these teams on here. So it's very early. These are very early regular season standings. Moving on, the Phoenix Mercury are another middle of the pack WNBA team at 5-3. Not much to say about this team. They are 5-3. They're sitting at number 5, but they cruising right now. Moving on to number 6, the Seattle Storm with the even Steven record of 4-4. Same thing with the Mercury. Not much to say about the team either. Again, bear with me because I'm still getting into the WNBA and whatnot. Still learning. Still trying to get my knowledge up on the WNBA. So if I don't have a lot to say about your favorite WNBA team, bear with me. I am still a newbie when it comes to knowledge on the WNBA. But I'm slowly trying to pick that up. But the Storm are 4-4. The Seattle Storm are 4-4. It's number 6 overall in the league. Which brings me to number 7. And this team, I mean, I get it. they're dealing with some injuries. Caitlin Clark has been dealing with a sprain, last I heard. So they're dealing with some injuries, but this team, and I thought they would be much higher, 4 or 5 at least. But they're at 7 right now. Now they can bounce back, and the season is still very early. 7. Most of these teams have only played 7 to 8 games max already, so they can still bounce back, and they're only 3 and 4. They're really only a half game or game or two behind the Seattle Storm. But this is the Indiana Fever, and again, this is a gritty team. Despite this, what I said about them in the Commissioner's Cup, this is a gritty team. They will still play, and they will still come at you hard, just like the Pacers. I will talk about them later down the line, but and I get it. They've been dealing with some injuries. The injury bug is starting to settle in a little bit for Fever, but they will work through it, and I think CC will get this team back on track to where they need to go. Not terrible, 3 and 4, and being 7 overall in the league, but I thought they would definitely be a little better than 3 and 4. But injuries happen. With that being said, at number 8, the Washington Mystics. This is where we're starting to get into the mid-trash teams, respectfully. Number 8, the Washington Mystics. Number 9, the Golden State Valkyrie. And number 10, the Chicago Sky. This is another team, in my opinion, the Chicago Sky. 2 and 4. They're tied with the Golden State Valkyrie right now. This is kind of a surprising team, the Chicago Sky, that they're this low, because I thought they would make, a somewhat of a big leap. But, Angel Reese, the drama yet again with Caitlin Clark is starting to kick in over the actual play on the court. Camila Cardoso, she's not clicking right now. We need that duo of Cardoso and Angel Reese to click, and it's not happening. And the drama is starting to kick in over the quality of play, and so the stars that should be turning up on the Sky are not turning up. So the Sky I thought would be like a middle of the pack team, like top 8 at best, but here we are. Maybe they can turn it around, because granted they've only played a total of 6 games, 2 and 4, so they can possibly turn it around. But somebody's going to have to step it up in that building. Someone's going to have to step it up in that Sky building and get this team back on track. And to cap off the final 3 rankings: 11, the LA Spark at 2 and 6. 12, the Connecticut Sun, that just got mollywopped by the Liberty at 1 and 6. And 1 and 7 is Paige Becker's Dallas Wings. They are not looking good right now. And that's kind of expected, because they're kind of still in a rebuild state. With a young team, a lot of rookies on that team. Everybody's still kind of figuring out the league. So that's kind of expected why they're this low. I was high on Paige, and she's doing fine. Paige is doing fine, but I wasn't high on the Dallas Wings in general. I wasn't high on the team itself, because it's a young team. They're still in a rebuilding state. A lot of rookies still trying to make names for themselves. So this might not be the season they get the chemistry going, but next season maybe. And I know that's very early of me to say, because the season is still very early and still very young. But 1 and 7 is a pretty deep hole to come out of right now. And with a young team like the Dallas Wings, I don't know if they can pull it off. But if they do, just give Paige WNBA Rookie of the Year. But with that being said, that is the WNBA, not only the Commissioner's Cup standings, but the regular season standings as well. Let me know in the comments down below any other important information that I may have left out as to why some of the teams are where they're at. Like key injuries or certain key stars on some of these teams that I've named not showing up. Because again, I'm still a newbie. I'm going to admit I'm still a newbie. I have noob level knowledge on the WNBA. Although I am vastly growing it, and I'm trying to grow it, trying to get more knowledgeable on the WNBA. So let me know in the comments down below how your favorite WNBA team is looking right now, as well as any key pieces of information that I may have left out when talking about your favorite team as to why they are sitting at the ranking that they are at. So, in other words, educate me. Educate me a little bit on the WNBA. So, with that being said, it's time to turn our attention to, I don't want to call it the main attraction, because I don't want this to be taken out of context or anything, but it's time to move us to the main attraction of this week. Because excuse me, because game 1, I believe, is tomorrow. Game 1 of the men's NBA Finals, I believe, is tomorrow / today. Excuse me. So we got to talk about it. OKC in Indiana. How did we get here for both of these teams? What does this mean for the league? The ratings? All these questions. Who benefits more if they win a chip? All these questions will be asked. And all these questions have been asked. They will all be answered. They will all be answered. So, let's talk about it. I'm going to break down kind of how each team kind of got here, even though we all know how each team got here. And I'm going to talk about, at the end, I'm going to give who I think is going to win the whole thing, as well as my overall thoughts on this year's finals in general, and what this means for the league. Because this is this is going to be the 7th different NBA champion. So, let's talk about it. I'll start with the Indiana Pacers first, because I had them winning the Eastern Conference Finals, and they did. So I'll start with the Pacers first. We obviously know how they got here. They beat the crap out of the Bucks. Unfortunately, they beat the crap out of my Cleveland Cavaliers. Unfortunately, I was hoping the Cavs would be here. But, Darius Garland and Jared Allen, your guys' time is up. But they beat the crap out of the Cavs, and then they took it down to Game 6 with the Knicks. They took it down to a Game 6 with the Knicks. And I just got to say, everything that I said about the Fever, them being a tough, gritty team, no matter the circumstances, no matter the odds, no matter the situation, they will be competitive and they will take it down to the wire. And I'm not gonna say anything yet on who I'm gonna pick, but I am gonna say that does and should move a lot of people as to who they're rocking with. Indiana is a heavy underdog. I will say this: they are a heavy underdog across not only sportsbook apps, but in the media in general. They are heavy underdogs. Nobody is expecting them to walk away with this one, and if they do, it's gonna be a hell of an underdog story to talk about for the Pacers. But they're a tough team. Tyrese Halliburton is him. Tyrese Halliburton, he is him. And I underestimated him against the Cavs. He proved that he can not only get his team activated, but he can get his team rolling. They can put points on the board. They are physical, and they are not afraid to show it. They are not afraid to show the physicality. They are not afraid to show that defense. They can put points on the board. I can't stress that enough. They can compete with anybody, no matter the seeding. There's a reason why they smacked us, and there's a reason why they are here. Do I think they can do it again against OKC? I will answer that question when I give when I talk about who I am picking to win this year's finals. But the Pacers, they just Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin, Tyrese Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, all those guys, everybody just complements each other so well on the Pacers. Rick Carlisle just has a good, fundamentally sound, complete, complementary, young, might I add young, Indiana Pacers team that we haven't seen a team like this type of Pacers team in a long while. Everybody is able to create their own shot. Everybody complements each other's shot, each other's game, and that's why they're here, because they play fundamentally sound, complementary basketball. I got to give the Pacers credit. That's why they're here, and we gon' talk about them a little more down the line. But we got to move over to OKC. Let's talk about OKC. we obviously know how they got here. They smacked the Grizzlies, and I mean smacked them 4-0 sweep. Grizzlies, I thought you guys were going to put up somewhat of a fight. Absolutely. Well, I don't want to say they absolutely smacked Denver because they didn't smack Denver. They got taken down to a game 7. Denver, you guys had that one, and I was hoping you guys would walk away with that one. Give Russ a chance at NBA Finals. But the Nuggets fought hard, fought valiantly, but OKC just played better on every level. So they beat the Nuggets in a game 7, and then they smacked. And when I mean smacked, the Timberwolves, they smacked the Timberwolves. Do not be fooled by that one win that the Timberwolves had in this series. You're better off calling that series a sweep. They swept the Timberwolves and they swept Memphis. Now, I'm heavily disappointed on the Timberwolves because they put up no fight. Again, do not be fooled by that one win that they got. Do not be fooled by the one win that they got against OKC. That was a facade. In actuality, they got swept, and I am heavily disappointed. I don't know what happened to Ant-Man, but he just shrank in the moment. I'm not going to slight Ant like the critics are. Obviously, I think he's still a top 5 basketball player in the league right now. I think he's got a lot of, OKC exposed a lot of things about Ant that he's got to work on. His maturity has to improve. You could argue his style of play has to improve, but I still think he can be the number 1 guy on not only the Timberwolves but on any team. And the brother is still young, so I'm not going to slight on Anthony Edwards at all. The brother is still young, and he can grow his game. But man, they put up no fight. They put up no fight, and it's crazy because I was rocking with the Timberwolves after they pounced the Lakers and the Warriors. I was rocking with them to go all the way to the finals, and it didn't happen. But this isn't about the Timberwolves. This is about OKC. And OKC, yet again, just played better defense, better basketball in general. And defense is kind of the reason why they're here. OKC had the number 1 defense all season long. I'm going to say it again. OKC had the number 1 defense all season long. In every statistical category, OKC was there. Defense is kind of the reason why OKC is here. Now, I'm not slighting the offense because SGA is the MVP for a reason. The dude is an offensive outlet. He is an offensive machine. He can give you 50. He's given us 4 plus 50 bombs this entire season. He can give you 30 pieces consistently every night. There's a reason why he's the MVP. So I'm not slighting the offense at all because they can put up points. But defense, normally on a high-powered offensive team, and this goes for any sport, MLB, NHL, NFL. Typically when you have a very high-powered offensive team, the defense is usually not that. It's not all that. We've seen it with the Bengals. They're a classic example of that. But OKC is different. They have a high-powered offense and a very strong foundation of a defense, and that's the reason why they're here. Just like the Pacers, everybody plays well. The big 3, J-Dub, Chet, and SGA. This could be the best big 3. If they win this finals, this could be the best big 3 in OKC history. Now, I get it. You had the 2012 OKC squad. Russ, James, and KD. And they did great things. They brought OKC to a finals too, but we saw how dramatic of an ending that was. And I'm going to circle back to this point when I give you guys who I think is going to win it all. I'll go circle back to that point. But if this OKC team gets the job done, and Shea not only wins his first ring, but also wins Finals MVP, he's going to have a Finals. He could have a Finals MVP. He'll have a Western Conference Finals MVP and a regular season MVP. Dude is going to be historic. We're going to have some nasty conversations about SGA, not only on the all-time leaderboard, but as a top blank player in the league, we're going to have some nasty conversations, especially with the SGA haters, because I get it. The free throw merchant allegations, Shea may never beat him, but he's here for a reason. He's the MVP for a reason. So, with that being said, having said that, we know how these teams are here. Yes, I am disappointed that some of the choices that I personally chose in the playoff prediction video did not make it, but clearly the Pacers were the best team in the East, and clearly OKC was not only the best team in the league, but they were the best team in the West. So I gotta give both teams flowers, and credit. That's why they're here. Now I'm not gonna get into a whole spiel about what this means for the ratings, because quite frankly nobody cares about that. And if you care about the ratings and you care about, oh well, these are two small market teams and their fan bases aren't that big, and they both come from a history that's pretty. The Pacers haven't really won. The Pacers, gosh, it's been forever since the Pacers won the finals, and OKC has never won the finals. So there's not a lot of rich history with both of these franchises. So if you're a guy that cares about the small market value in these teams and seeing two small market teams in the finals, what is going on with you? We do not care about the ratings, so I'm not going to go into a whole spiel about that. I am going to quickly talk about what this means for the league in general, because this is going to be the seventh different NBA champion. We've had no dynasties in the NBA. Can't say that about the NFL, but we've had no dynasties in the NBA, and I think that's a good thing. I don't really like the idea of having dynasties in big sports, like the NFL and the MLB, NHL, things like that. I don't really like the idea of dynasties. I think after a while, it can affect the game in a negative way, and that's why the Chiefs are hated on because they're a dynasty, and the Patriots were hated on because they were a dynasty. So I don't really like the idea of the dynasty in sports. I like when there's new faces winning it every year. So I like the idea of having a seventh different NBA champion. I think it's good for the game. It's good for the ratings. I think this long term, I think this could be a good thing. And I hope we continue to see this trend. Like, I don't think we need to see a super team. We thought it was going to be the 2024 Celtics, but we saw how that crumbled instantly in the playoffs against the Knicks this year. So hopefully OKC is not a super team. Not wishing that they do trash the next season. Not wishing that at all. And I think OKC will be in the playoffs next year. But I think for the game, for the league, it's good that we're having a seventh different NBA champion, because nobody likes dynasties. We want to see new people, new faces win it. And we are going to see new faces win it, because both Tyrese Halliburton and SGA could both be historical players to their franchise if they win. They could both be historical players to their franchise if they win. With that being said, it's time to talk about who I think is going to win the entire thing. Who I think is going to win their not only their franchise's first, well, OKC's first, possibly OKC's first ever chip, or is Halliburton going to win Indiana their first chip and forever, forever? Who am I rocking with to win it all? I like the Pacers. I can't count them out completely. I know they're heavy underdogs across the board right now. Nobody expects them to put up much of a chance, much less a fight. And I get it. The best defense in the NBA going up against, I would say, the most complete offense in the NBA. Who will win? Is Pascal Siakam going to be able to handle Chet? Is J-Dub and SGA, are they going to lock up Halliburton? Is Obi Toppin and the bench going to step up? Are all these key matchups going to play in either team's favor? Only time will tell. Game one is today. We will find out. But with that being said, who am I rocking? And ladies and gentlemen, I am rocking with, and I know this might sound as unrealistic as possible, but I am rocking with the Indiana Pacers. I am rocking with the Indiana Pacers to win this year's NBA Finals. Now, granted, Indiana, their back is against the wall. Nobody thinks they can do it. Their back is against the wall. All odds are against them. Nobody thinks they can do it, and I get it. The Thunder have been the most dominant defense and the most dominant offense in the league, and it's been real tough to stop them. But the Nuggets did take them down to a Game 7. I will say that. The Nuggets took them down to a Game 7, and I get it. They had Jokic, and Jokic is like a top 3 dude in the league, and Tyrese is not that, and Siakam is not that. But keep that in mind that the Nuggets were this close to beating the most dominant team in the league. So, and also keep in mind that the Pacers essentially smacked everybody they played. They smacked the Bucks, and I get it. That was the worst Bucks team that we've seen have Giannis. That wasn't a good Bucks team. I get it. And then they smacked us, and I get it. Maybe we weren't as dominant as OKC was. We didn't have an MVP guy. We did have Defensive Player of the Year, and we did have Coach of the Year, but we may not have been as dominant at 1 seed as OKC. I get it. We may have been frauds. Boo-hoo. They smacked us, and then they beat the Knicks, and I get it. The Knicks, they beat the Celtics, and there's an asterisk to that because that wasn't a really good Celtics team, but the Knicks, they beat the Knicks. And the Knicks had a hard, I would say it was a somewhat tough path too. But it's all very confusing. But the point is, the Pacers played competition. They beat a number 1 team in the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think they have it in them to do it again. It's going to be a very tough road. I think it's going to have to go, if they want to do it, it's going to have to go to Game 7, because there's no way they're going to be able to clear-cut short this in any way. Pardon my language, they're damn sure not going to sweep OKC, but I think they have the capacity to pull it off again and beat a number 1 seed one last time. And for that reason, I am rocking with the Indiana Pacers to win it all. I like this team. They're gritty. They are tough. They play no matter what. They can win no matter what. They've showed that they have the capacity to beat anybody because they essentially did it. I think they can get the job done. They can get the job done. Now this isn't any slight to OKC. It's going to go down to Game 7, and I hope it goes down to Game 7. And I think this is going to be an entertaining finals. And the Pacers are going to have to do a lot of things. They're going to have to play out of their comfort zone. They're going to have to play spot-on basketball. Tyrese Halliburton is going to have to drop 30 pieces a night if the Pacers want to have a chance to beat OKC. I'll say it again. Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam, they're both going to have to drop 30 points a night if they want a chance to hang with that dominant defense in OKC. But I think they can do it. Halliburton has showed he can do it. He's got the confidence. Siakam has been arguably one of the best players in the playoffs. I think they can do it, and I think they know they can do it. Everybody, again, complements each other so well. I think the Pacers are going to get the job done here and win it all. And Tyrese Halliburton is going to throw himself up there. In as one of the top 10 guys in the league. I'll say one of the top 10 guys in the league. He's going to throw himself up there. But having said that, this has been season 4. 4 seasons of Life's Playbook podcast. 4 seasons. 4 great seasons. This is the final episode of season 4. And what better way to end the season than talking about the ending to the NBA season? Y'all, my pick is in. My pick is in. I am rocking with the Pacers. Y'all know it now. And if the Pacers get smacked, which I don't think they will, and I'm hoping they don't, but if they do, I will take it on the chin. But it's been a great season for both teams. There's a reason why both teams are here, because they each have something that the teams that they faced didn't have. But here we are. Let me know in the comments down below who you are rocking with to win it all. If you think me picking the Pacers is crazy, I do have a more, I don't want to call it a realistic take, but I do have a more grounded take on the finals. But for the sake of the episode, I wanted this to be interesting, and I wanted this to be, a preview, a good preview, and not just me giving my most grounded take on this. But that is who I'm rocking. Let me know in the comments down below who you're rocking with. Let me know again in the comments down below. Educate me a little bit on the WNBA and why. If I didn't have much to say about your WNBA team, educate me a little bit as to why your team is in the position that they're in right now, as well as what you think of your favorite WNBA team and how they're doing right now. And who do you think is going to win the Ladies Commissioner Cup? With that being said, peace out.